Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
I'm here in Efrat on Rosh Chodesh Elul, Aleph.
It's okay. It's actually David Bedein, Bureau Chief of the Israel Resource News Agency. I'm also the Director of the Center for Near East Policy Research. Okay, what do you need to know?
I'd like to have your statement concerning the refugees of Gush Katif.
Okay, the people who were kicked out of Gush Katif and the northern Samaria, this is a process that the Israeli government is going through because of its bilateral relations with Israel and the U.S. Israel 12 years ago, summer 1993, obligated itself to the United States to take all the Jews out of Judea, Samaria, and Gaza, irregardless of anything. The government of Israel has all of a sudden taken the position of the Israel Communist Party that it is illegal for Jews to live in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. This is opposed previous government positions that did never challenge the legality on the basis of the Jewish national home being anywhere west of the Jordan River and on the basis of basic human rights and civil liberties. The people involved in this engagement, according to open sources from the Israeli government, are also the same people hired by the PLO to be involved with business, to be involved with developing Arab businesses that will will replace the Jews who have left in Katif. The most blatant example is Eval Giladi, who is the CEO of the Portland Trust. The Portland Trust is an agency set up between a British agency and a Palestinian Arab agency, designed to raise $500 million to bring Palestinian businesses that will replace the Jews who are being evicted. Giladi was involved in all the public policy aspects of the eviction.
What do you know about what the government has done for post-eviction for these refugees?
There is no evidence that the government of Israel allocated funds for social services, medical services, or any other of those kind of services, human development services, for the Jews as they were being evicted from Judea, Samaria, Gaza. I say this as an MSW, as a social worker and a veteran social worker in Israel who now works in the media. At the same time, this is the most important thing to emphasize, is that the government of Israel, stop for a moment please, one of the myths currently propagated by the government of Israel is that the people did not apply in time for compensation services and for all the other relocation services provided by the government of Israel. Yitzhak Miron, the legal counsel, whose company was hired by the Katif settlements to negotiate with the government, brought documentation last week to the Israeli press that showed that as of last November, after the Knesset ratified the disengagement plan, they actually went to the government and said, okay, we're ready to negotiate so that we can move our communities intact. The government's response was to refuse to meet with Mr. Miron and to refuse to meet with the lawyers, say we'll meet with people on an individual basis. They said, no, we want to meet as communities. Only in May, 3 months before the eviction, did the government start talking to them as communities. The government has 20 public relations professionals working for it and maintains a public relations firm in the United States known as the Israel Project, to promote what it's doing and to make everything look fine. Most Jewish organizations abroad are under the impression that every Jewish family kicked out of Katif and the Shomron left with a $500,000 check in their pocket. That's simply not the case.
Yes, I documented that on personal interviews with a dozen of the refugees, and also documented the lack of any kind of educational services that no member of the government or sad to say any Jewish institutions other than volunteers and the outpouring of the Israeli citizens to help the refugees. Why has the government been so, if they want to say, incompetent or inept in providing services, and as well the residents have not received any monetary. There's been no discussion. They've received not only no monetary compensation for their property, which was legally owned, but they have no money to even buy an ice cream for their
I
child.
can call Ronan Gisin, the spokesman of the Prime Minister's office, 0506-205-019, and ask him pointed questions. The government has offered $10,000 cash grants to people. The question of whether it comes off their compensation or not is one of the questions that has to be dealt with. Number two, the Jewish Federation of New York hired professionals to set up something called the Israel Trauma Coalition. You should be asking them what they're doing about it. I don't know.
Okay, I'm only responding in these statements that the refugees. Okay, I'd like to ask you, Mr. Bedein. Bedein, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, it has been said that from a military or strategic point of view, due to the only 8,000 numbers of, quote, settlers that lived in Gaza as opposed to the 1.2 million Palestinians, from a humanitarian ethical point of view and military strategic point of view, that it was necessary to remove this population from Gaza. How would you respond to that?
The Jews who lived in Gush Katif did not live in the center of Gaza. Israel withdrew from Gaza on May 1st, 1994, leaving Jewish communities contiguous to Gaza in place. That's on both sides of the Green Line, whether we're talking about the Western Negev or Katif. As a matter of fact, Ashkelon is closer to Gaza than Neve Dekalim, the main former city of Gush Katif, was. So why not remove Ashkelon? What's going on here? The myth that the Jews were living in the middle of a teeming Arab refugee camp or a teeming Arab village or the Arab city of Gaza is just a myth and unfortunately very dishonest.
What would you say about the now greater opportunity for security because the IDF doesn't need to go into Gaza, as opposed to now, to play devil's advocate, now the Hamas and Islamic Jihad and other terrorist organizations have a greater platform, unencumbered access through Egypt to be able to now launch attacks into Israel proper.
The greatest advantage that Israel had by having Jewish communities which were in strategic points in Gaza was its ability to know exactly what's going on there and having troops right there in case of a possible incursion. Now Israel doesn't have that advantage, and Israel is basically in a situation where it has given contiguous territory to the PLO, which is still at war with Israel, and the PLO has absorbed the Hamas, and of course the country that had been helping the PLO attack Israel, which was Egypt, now can help them not only with underground tunnels, but with direct help, direct assistance.
Is not Egypt, don't they have a treaty with Israel?
Egypt has a treaty with Israel, but part of that treaty also involves Egypt guaranteeing the PLO the fact that they're going to have independence in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza, and kick the Jews out of there, and also kick the Jews out of Jerusalem.
It has been said that since the eviction has occurred, this must have been part of God's plan, because nothing happens unless God allows it to happen.
Perhaps the most sinful thing that happened in Israel in the last 6 months were all kinds of people who were second-guessing God. Rabbis who said this isn't going to happen, which took away people's activist energies. Rabbis who said you don't have to make connections with people outside of Katif, like the 45 communities that will now be in artillery range of Katif. Rabbis who said that Messiah would come to prevent this from happening. This was a great sin, and anyone who tries to second-guess God and say what God is up to needs a good psychiatrist and bears a great amount of responsibility for turning many people off to Judaism.
Now that the nation of Israel, the state of Israel, has made a unilateral overture by giving the, quote, Palestinians some land to make a state with nothing in return, should not these people, given this opportunity, come to make peace with Israel? Or how do you view the situation?
PLO is in a state of war with Israel. The PLO was established by the Arab League. The Arab League was established for one purpose only. That is to destroy the state of Israel. That has to be very clear. If it's not clear, that's the problem. The Arab League led the war in 48, was defeated in the battle, established the PLO in 1964 to create an indigenous rebellion amongst the local Arabs in the land of Israel, and the PLO, being in a state of war, cannot be expected to make peace unless they're defeated.
Is there any contact information should anybody in this audience choose to obtain further information and or send donations?
The Center for Near East Policy Research, which is located in Boston, Massachusetts, has been organizing educational seminars in Israel and the United States, especially the U.S. Congress, under the theme of "Let My People Know," so that people will know further what is really happening on the ground. The center has a website, www.israelbehindthenews.com, and the center has a tax-deductible address, P.O. B. 1783, Brookline, Massachusetts, Brookline, Massachusetts, 02446-0014. That's the Center for Near East Policy Research, P.O. B. 1783, Brookline, Massachusetts, 02446-0014, and our email is policyresearch1@yahoo.com. That's policyresearch1@yahoo.com. We have an 800 number, 800-969-9718. That's 800-969-9718. Again, this is David Bedein, Director of the Center for Near East Policy Research and the Bureau Chief of the Israel Resource News Agency in Jerusalem, Israel.